What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. Happy Friday. And welcome to Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. We are happy to be back with you all. I am the Bitcoin Broski.
So happy.
Hey. Yes.
Man, I missed you guys.
There we go. Jack Sparrow, Kyle, and Bitcoin Birch. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New
What's
Year.
going on, boys? How's everybody?
Happy New Year, fellas. Good to be back.
I see you guys
I missed
rocking
you guys.
rocking your winter beards. I'm feeling kind of naked with my face shaved over here. Everyone's got the stuff
Well,
going on.
It's because you live in
When-
nice Florida and we live in terrible Antarctic Chicago. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's wild.
I have no complaints about 85-degree Januaries.
What do we got on? I lived in Florida for 8 years, and I moved out of Orlando to move to Chicago. And people always ask me why, and I just remind them that as warm as Florida is, you still have a few months out of the year where it's very uncomfortable, just like it is here in Chicago. It's just uncomfortable on the other end of the spectrum, and the people suck.
12 months out of the year. That's true. Yeah.
The restaurants are terrible.
12 months out of the year.
The restaurants are terrible. The culture is non-existent. So that's just
I don't know, Joel. The two Floridians we met this year were incredible people. Incredible people. Dana and the girl. Come on.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
mean, my part of Florida is a little more cultured. The restaurants are a little better, but it's still. I'm actually probably moving to the Midwest here in the next few months, so haven't really determined where yet. But it's time to
Post
head
your
home.
votes. Post your
That's it,
vote.
man.
Let's get them to Chicago.
You guys can determine the future of my family. Just let us know where we're moving, and we'll pick a spot and go there. So, guys, jumping right into things today. I mean, we got a lot we want to talk about, and really, for those of you who have tuned into the podcast before, we've done some very structured shows where we go through specific news articles. I want to kind of switch things up to just keep it more conversational today, because there are some topics that we feel are really good conversations, and we want to just get those going. So, first and foremost, Bakkt. Good old Bakkt in the news, Bakkt in that ass up, still not launching. We've got a delay, but a big bankroll to go with it. So,
They ain't got our back. That's for sure.
$182 million richer all of a sudden. What's the deal with Bakkt? Where's this going? When are we going to see this thing in action?
What kind of valuation does that bring them to?
Do we know how much they raised?
182 million.
No, how much they sold, rather? What percentage they sold?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I would venture to guess. I can let me look them up on Crunchbase. I mean, I would not imagine that they sold more than like a 20% stake. So you do the math on that. It's wild.
Yeah. And this is obviously, their COO is an ex-Coinbase employee, Adam White, so he's over there now. And one of the big investors that I thought was cool is Microsoft's venture arm. So Microsoft's venture arm is actually part of who kicked in that 182 mil. That's awesome. I'm not aware of Microsoft investing in any other exchanges. So for that to be a first play for them, being crypto focused, that's pretty big.
Pantera invested, one of the world's largest crypto specific funds, Galaxy Digital, the Boston Consulting Group. And this was a Series A. So usually you have an angel round, you have a seed round, then you have a Series A, and I've seen all the way through like Series like M. Like I've seen some crazy rounds. But with a Series A, it means it's the first time taking on early stage venture capital. So they probably had some initial funding, friends and family, and that sort of thing early, and sold a few percentage points for a couple $100,000. They might have done a seed round. It's not a requirement. Series A is, because it's such a large raise, I would venture to guess, because it's a Series A, it was probably around 20%, right? So that would put the valuation of the company between $2.5 and $4 billion, depending on how it ended up being. So that's pretty serious investor prowess backing into Bakkt. And I think it is, however, a little suspect that they released this exciting news or closed the round like this, the same day they announced yet another delay. Mm-hmm. So is it just a counter FUD measure? Is this just good PR on Bakkt's part?
I don't know. Probably if you bring some negative news and you bring some positive news, you at least, keep some credibility. And if you can tell people, oh, we have so much money to actually flow into our company, there's so many people who want to be part of it, you know, it keeps the credibility of Bakkt up. But it is a bit weird, I think, that they keep on delaying and they're not being fully transparent why it is they are delaying. I mean, they are disclosing it, but I'm pretty sure there's more details to it than we actually read. Maybe they're just waiting for us, you know, like to sell more of our Bitcoins. And
I mean, it might have something to do with the government shutdown that's proposed as well. You know, there's a lot of essential resources that are being diverted, and this is certainly not a priority. So that definitely gets in the way. This doesn't surprise anyone. I mean, Nick CryptoCore, who we talked to and is a friend of the show, you know, he 2 months ago was saying like, listen, it's not going to happen in December. It's not going to happen in January. Like this, it shouldn't surprise anybody. But I think it is good PR. They didn't not think about that. They're like, well, you know, we're going to delay, but hey, we raised $182 million at a $2-3-4 billion valuation. You know, I think it's good stuff.
Question remains though, like where are their competitors at? Are their competitors getting closer to actually having a product as well? So that's gonna, you know, push them.
And they're so big
hard.
though, man. They're so big. Like that's, and to be first mover like this with such a big company and such big backing. I mean, they have ICE as their parent company. I mean, that's the granddaddy of all exchanges, right? So I don't know that there's competition that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't necessarily agree with that per se. I mean, because you have currently, like, you have NASDAQ and you have all these different stock exchanges, you know, all across just the United States. So, you know, if we're talking about an international ecosystem for trading, there's always going to be liquidity on various exchanges. So I wouldn't be too worried. You know, I think there are other opportunities in the space, other exchanges that will have success. But I do agree that a lot of the volume is probably going to end up on an ICE-backed exchange like Bakkt. So, but, you know, we'll see how that all plays out.
Ronnie, was there something else you wanted to add there, man?
Yeah, I think Kyle just said most of what I was going to say. I think there is some serious competition for Bakkt. But I think we're going to get there because we have some news on NASDAQ and Gemini that we want to discuss as well. So maybe we can actually, you know, go ahead with that.
Yeah, man, that sounds good. I think that, you know, that Abacus article, Kyle, if you want to take it away and kind of highlight what's up with that, and we can dig into the NASDAQ combo.
Yeah, so we're referencing an article from Abacus Journal. You know, we've spoken with the editor of that journal for. He's a real good guy, and he usually has really good information, has good writers that are working for him. And what they have released recently is that NASDAQ has some serious crypto ambitions, that they will be listing several coins in 2019. Now, that would be absolutely wild from that perspective, because we're not talking about an ETF or just another exchange. We're talking about coins being listed on the NASDAQ. I mean, that's going to be put right in front of so many different institutional investors and, you know, traders in the real, like, finance world that are just going to be seeing this as a part of their, you know, normal daily intake, and it's just going to add more legitimacy to the space. So I think this is very good news for crypto.
So, but it seems like they are working very closely with Gemini, right? The institution that the Winklevoss brothers set up, the crypto exchange that they've built.
Yeah, well, they've partnered with Van Eck as well, and that's with Bakkt and ICE and that whole group. But this story is actually from three months ago, at least. In the article, they mentioned that they actually had this all sourced out several months ago, but with NASDAQ, you know, partnering with these different organizations, they wanted to push it out. So this seems to be common knowledge, I guess, within some closed circles. But just to Kyle's point, that's going to be absolutely insane if they, you know, if they end up listing some tokens on NASDAQ. And as you mentioned, Max, you know, they're also working with Gemini. So this is huge.
Yeah,
how do we get
we don't need an ETF, right, guys? I mean, Bitcoin is perfectly capable. Actually, Bitcoin is an ETF of its own. You can buy a share of Bitcoin. You can buy a fractional share of Bitcoin. You can sell it. It pretty much works like a real ETF, but besides the fact that you don't have any insurance and other custodial services that, you know, Bitcoin doesn't deliver as such as an ETF would. But so we don't really need it.
Kind of like we had talked about before. I mean, as we're potentially looking at what could be the worst recession of recent memory, right? This could be a nice hedge. I mean, having crypto on NASDAQ, it could be something to move counterintuitively to the rest of the market. I don't know that would actually be the case, but Kyle's more the guy for that. What do you have to say there, Kyle?
I'm sorry, Whitney. I was kind of phasing what I was going to say next. What was your statement there?
I just wanted to catch you, deer in headlights. No, okay. I was just talking about crypto being listed on NASDAQ and how if we do come into a major recession with legacy stocks, as we're looking at right now, having crypto on there could be very beneficial to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sure. I think you're right, and I've spoken to that many times on this show. The fact that I think that currently we could be entering a potential recession in traditional markets. And if we have this potential option sitting right next to these stocks as they're going down, and the word spreads on what Bitcoin and Ethereum, you know, some of the larger cryptos, what they can actually provide in terms of from a finance perspective, then I think that's good for the long-term mission of this space, definitely.
And from what I understand from Abacus Journal is that they didn't release a part of this news because they didn't. They wanted to see whether their sources were actually right. So they postponed creating a story on their sources. And at this point, several parts of the story they got from their sources were proven right. So what I really like is the second part where the second Gemini source actually speculated and was pretty sure about that we could maybe see them listed as soon as Q2 of 2019. So that's only like, you know, that's within 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. So then the question is, which coins get listed?
Well, obviously,
what on NASDAQ? Oh, come on. Of course,
Raven coin.
Turtle coin, obviously.
See, I didn't even have to do it this time. I didn't even have to mention it on the show. Everyone did it for me.
I think they will list OCN as well.
Probably OCN.
There's a chance.
If I had to guess.
Well, they're reading too.
They're not just interested in Ether futures. Like the big obvious thing is that Ether futures are going to come, right? So we have Bitcoin futures currently. When Bitcoin futures launched, it was shorted to 3K over the course of 8 months. Now Ethereum futures, they're going to launch. Like that's all I'll say is like they're going to definitely come to the CBOE and the CME at some point, maybe NASDAQ as well. So how are launching Ether futures when Ether's down 85%? Or is there going to be an opposite effect? Are we going to is Ether going to lead the alt season charge? Is Ether futures launching and people longing Ether for, from 150 to 1500? Is that going to lead alt season? Number one. That's
I don't necessarily think so, because I think we're only going to see positive price action when we can get futures that are commodity backed. I think that's a very, very important part for this entire market to be able to move up, is the fact that to speculate on the asset, you will have to own the asset, which is going to level out the playfield a lot more.
Yeah, it limits volatility.
Yeah, I think that kind of piggybacks off the ETF point you made, Ronnie. And although I do agree with you, and since we're so ingrained in the space, it's easy for us to actually own Bitcoin and transact within the space. But I have buddies that I've gotten into crypto and they don't even know how to use Coinbase or possibly, convert money into Bitcoin. So I think the custodial aspect of an ETF coming out is going to spur adoption even further.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be something that I think an ETF will assist with in the future, and why it is ultimately important, because so many people aren't going to be able to actually try and figure out how to own the asset. They just want to buy a share in it because it's what they're used to.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably absolutely right. Just for mainstream adoption and ease of use, you just want to call your freaking bank and say, hey, get me a Bitcoin, and not worry about it. And then a couple of months later, you want to call your bank and say, hey, sell my Bitcoin. Cheers.
Well, and especially because, I mean, and you mentioned this before, Max, smart money is already recommending that people should hedge, their portfolio with at least 1% in Bitcoin. That Chamath Palihapitiya has been saying that for a while now, and he's someone that I really respect in the VC space. But a lot of people are saying that. And if that's the case, if it's 1% of their portfolio, they don't want to make that some big complicated ordeal to get that 1% to hedge, right? So the easier it can be, the better.
You have any clue how much 1% is? I did a little
one per one.
calculation.
That would be on everyone's individual. Well, of the total market.
I'm not really sure how big the world's financial stock right now is, but I'm pretty sure it's valued over 300 trillion. It was 294 in 2014. So 1% is still like 3 trillion.
Which, I mean, I could be wrong, but when I entered the market last year, everyone was calling for a $3 trillion total market cap by 2020. So that was kind of the number. I mean, I heard it thrown around over and over again, December, January, this time last year. 3 trillion was kind of the number. So that would make sense.
You have to take.
I don't think it's going to be as early as 2020, but
no, me neither. But that's just, I mean, that's what the speculation was a year ago at the top of the bull market.
How many more coins are going to be added to the ecosystem in that time, though? I would suspect that the coin ecosystem probably multiplies by 5 between now in the next year, basically between now and 2020. I honestly do think that the token ecosystem, whether it's STOs, ICOs, PPOs, HMOs, whatever, I believe that we're going to see the coin ecosystem 4 to 5x this year. So
you don't think they're going to die?
Yes, but that startups die all the time. It doesn't mean that more stupid shitbag ideas aren't going to come out, and there's going to be more stupid shitbag coins added, because anyone can make a coin in 5 minutes. You can make an ERC20 token in 45 seconds. The resources are there. You can use platforms now to do the whole business for you. You can hire people to write white papers. So we're going to have a lot of shitbag startups, just like we have here in Chicago, Silicon Valley, and Amsterdam, and every other somewhat tech hub, Denver, Miami, you name it. There's just shitbag companies everywhere. Yep. More and more of these shitbag companies. There's literally millions of startups a year. Millions. More and more of these shitbag startups.
We only smoke weed in Amsterdam, bro. We don't have any shitty startups.
And all these shitbag startups, a lot of them are going to be more interested in token economics, especially if they know they can crowdfund that way, and they can do all this other bullshit. So, I definitely expect to see that the actual token ecosystem, many coins will die, just like they've died before. If you look at the top 10 by market cap in 2014, I think 3 or 4 of them are completely gone. Several are rebranded, and then you have a couple of big ones left that are no longer in the top 10. Now they're in the top 100 or something like that. So we're going to continue to see that cycle indefinitely and in perpetuity. But if the token ecosystem 5x's this year, then the market could stay exactly the same and move sideways, and it would still 5x. So I don't know how much weight I want to give crypto being worth $3 trillion. That doesn't mean it's going to translate to Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin still has 51% of it, or 48, or fucking 40% of it, that's going to be good for all of us. But that remains to be seen.
I do think that we will see Bitcoin dominance trend downward the more that this space gets adopted. That's my hypothesis on how that will go. But I do think that whereas Bitcoin dominance may trend downwards, say this is just a rough number, but say the top 50 cryptocurrencies in space, their dominance will trend upwards. So I do believe that there are a lot of valuable ideas in crypto, and a lot of things that will be tokenized that will have value. But I almost think that the stronger proof of work coins, the coins that are used very well in commerce, are cheap and quick to use, those will start to gather more and more market cap as they're actually utilized in commerce and economic transactions. So I guess I'm bearish on Bitcoin dominance over the next 5 years, but I'm bullish on 20, 30 pull away cryptos that actually become a stable point in transacting. So
I don't know, because there's a lot of coins out there that eventually are going to get replaced by Bitcoin. I mean, there's a ton of coins that currently exist that currently do a little bit different things than Bitcoin. But by the end of this year, we'll probably have Schnorr signatures. We'll get some privacy features added. We have Lightning Network, which is going to be, is going to exclude the need for any fast ledger.
Well, so Lightning, that's you got to be careful with that, because yes, you're right. It's not going to require all the validations that, or all the confirmations that currently is the case, but it has to be between two trusted parties. So if we're not two trusted parties, then it's still got to send it through the entire network. So there's going to be
beautiful because you need trusted party eventually.
Sure.
If you do if you want to do commerce and whatever.
Well, but so that's the thing, is like commerce technically is not two trusted parties, right? Because if I'm buying from an unknown site, or especially with fraud the way that it is today, I don't know that the applications for Lightning are going to be what they think. I think person to person or peer to peer, it could be beneficial. But for e-commerce at large, I don't know that Lightning poses enough of a solution. But one thing I do want to say, because Kyle, I think to your point, you've got some coins out there that are right now. They're making moves. Like you look at Florin coin, I think the ticker's FLO. They are being used by, I believe, Wyoming for a land registry. You have Zill, and the speculation right now with Zilliqa is that Facebook is building their token system on Zilliqa, right? So you have all of these use cases that are there, and obviously the valuations haven't quite matched up to where the tokens are. And then you have others like ETH, which I don't care if it's at $150 or $80, it's overvalued for what it can do. There's going to be some ebb and flow. I know. Laugh all you want, but it's I still can't figure out what it's for other than launching an ICO. Anyways, one thing I know this conversation could go on for a while, but one thing I know we wanted to talk about on the show, because of course yesterday was a big day for all of us, right? 10 years ago yesterday, all of our lives changed without us actually knowing it. The first Bitcoin block was mined. Genesis block 10 years ago yesterday was mined by some rich motherfuckers. Now they are anyway.
Happy birthday.
So guys, when it comes to it, now we've got, then it was just proof of work. Then you could only mine Bitcoin, but now you've got proof of work, delegated proof of stake, the ability to run master nodes, all of these different networks. What does the next 10 years look like when it comes to these systems? Where do you think the strength is actually going to lie?
I think that's really tough to pick out or peg a certain part that blockchain or Bitcoin will really find itself in. But I think that if you look back at the dawn of the internet, one of the first applications was email. And when people were using the internet initially and they were using email, they probably didn't even understand why email would be better than any other application they had at the time to communicate. I think that what we'll see over the next 10 years is that just like the internet branched out into every facet of our lives and was used in so many different ways to communicate or to interact or whatever, I think that we'll see blockchain do the same thing. Even my grandpa, I'm glad you brought this up, my grandpa texted me yesterday. He was like talking about it. He's like, I was reading a report by Walmart and they're utilizing blockchain now to track their produce, and it takes their efficiency from like 7 seconds to 2 seconds. And from a business standpoint, that saves millions and millions of dollars a year when you're on the scale of Walmart. If your produce tracking or product tracking is more efficient. So I think we'll see blockchain branch out and show how many more applications it can actually provide more than just Bitcoin, although Bitcoin will always be, the original and probably the most important. So.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of consensus algorithms. And so speculating on how, I think we're just only going to see more consensus algorithms. Like we know the common ones, proof of work, proof of stake, delegated proof of stake. There's also like proof of authority, yep. Proof of weight, proof of all kinds of shit, the Byzantine fault tolerance. But one thing that I think we'll see a lot more of in the next 24 months is going to be the DAGs, what does the A stand for? Directed acyclic graphs. Yeah. Basically, that's used by IOTA or Nano, but
it's like a
Hashgraph is kind of like the popular. Hey, like if something's going to kill blockchain, Hashgraph, like blockchain is going to be VHS and Hashgraph is going to be DVD kind of thing. And the pros to a network like that is that it's infinite, like theoretically there can be infinite transactions per second because of the way it's designed. theoretically. Hashgraph has said to have TPS of like 250,000 transactions per second, but there's a lot that goes into that data. But it quite literally needs mass adoption in order to work, just because of the way they have like a 2-for-1 payment system. So, or transaction system. So I think we're going to see more of Hashgraph and more of these blockchain competitors. I think less different consensus algorithms maybe in the existing ecosystem, but we have expanding and ever-growing ecosystems that solve different problems. But ultimately, I think the main goal is the same: is using cryptography for starters. We can have faster, better, more secure, trustless, peer-to-peer, no middleman transactions of money, data, pretty much money and data. But that it's going to continue to grow. I don't think we can speculate that proof of work is going to beat out proof of stake. Like there's different things are good for different types of networks. Exactly. If it's not a payment transaction network, it doesn't need 250,000 transactions per second. Unless you're processing every payment of every person on every country in the planet, you don't need 250,000 transactions per second. So, where is that real need going to come from? I think that obviously remains to be seen. But I think we'll start to have those answers in the next 12 to 24 months.
Mm-hmm. I think usability is a huge roadblock still. If you think about it, you guys, me, myself, and a couple of my friends, we know how to use blockchain and we know how to transfer our money. But if you would tell your dad or your mom, hey, all right, well, you go get a Bitcoin, it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to actually do it. So the solutions for that are going to be very important. And then I guess, I don't know. I still think that interoperability is going to be a huge requirement in the space going forward. Because like you said, there's going to be a ton of different consensus mechanisms and different blockchains. And I think that's good. I think it's also good for certain data to actually store on multiple blockchains. So you have some kind of decentralization within a decentralized network. So I think where the big money is going to come in is the first project or first projects that are going to be able to link all that together in a very useful, easy to set up format. Like, like how WordPress kind of created an accessible way to create websites. Well, that's something that you want to see. But for blockchain, and this is going to be incredibly difficult because blockchain is not just websites. Blockchain could be literally anything you want to build on it as long as it works for you. So, yeah.
And so that's kind of the thought. You think about it 10 years ago when Bitcoin started out, right? It was the decentralized network to end all other networks that was going to be fast, secure, and everything that they said. And now it's really one of the most centralized blockchains, right? I mean, there are others, and I know that argument can be made, whatever, but it's more centralized than they set out for it to be. No questions asked. So now as you're looking at it, I'm always just curious as to what's going to be the most decentralized solution that's actually going to be secure and provide stability for a network that's actually going to accomplish whatever it's setting out to accomplish. So it's just, for me, it's always cool looking at masternodes and delegated proof of stake and Loki's system where they have kind of a combination, their proof of service and the traditional proof of work projects that are ASIC resistant. All of that, I think, adds value in a different way. It should be very interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Keep in mind too, there doesn't have to be one winner. Like people tend to get really campy and really cliquey. I don't envision a token economy and an ecosystem of Web 3.0 in a couple of years where one conglomerate or one consensus protocol or mechanism or governance system is mainstream. That's why I have Visa and MasterCard and others, right? I think there's always going to exist, which is a good thing.
For sure.
Hopefully it's beneficial and continues to make it easier to be an entrepreneur and to have an opportunity to kind of level the playing field. None of us have come from any place that would allow us to ever build anything that could compete with MasterCard. That would never happen. So ultimately, I think that diverse ecosystem is going to be a good thing. And hopefully it continues to support young entrepreneurs and just entrepreneurs in general and thought leaders and people who are trying to kind of bend the status quo. And I don't think there's only one consensus protocol except for, of course, Ripple, XRP coin, Ripple coin, XRP.
Had to throw that in the first show, huh? Had to kick the girls that one.
Well, because actually no, Ripple Shill, guys, Ripple Shill. They, as you know, have about 100 developers and about 200 employees and are worth like billions and billions of dollars. And they just announced they have 12 whole people signed up to use XRapid, 12 whole companies.
Wow.
At least, guys. They've been at this for 4 years. Come on, that's 3 a year. That's massive growth.
That's good.
So for all my Ripple coin fans out there, XRapid is the future, guys. And if you want to tip bot me, do that. I'm not quite sure how the tip bot works, but hashtag XRP tip bot me, and I will appreciate it.
So on that note, I think a good place for us to kind of round the show out for today would be to talk a little bit about what's 2019 going to bring. We've talked about Bakkt, we've talked about the exchanges, we've talked about Bitcoin, but what are you guys looking forward to? Obviously, the news from everywhere seems to be hyper bullish on crypto, but going into this year, how freaking excited are all of you? Pumped, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think 2019 is going to be a massive year for infrastructure for crypto. Whether that translates to price, I don't know. I don't care, actually. I'm going to try to play the market either way, like we've done this up to this point. I'd rather it go up. That'd be pretty cool. As long as it stops going down, I think that'll feel nice. That'll be a nice break. So if we are now in accumulation as opposed to distribution, that would be sweet too. I'm not in any hurry to see another bull run as much as I'd like it, because I'm biddling some things as well. I think everyone here is.
Did you say biddling?
Yeah, I'm biddling.
Is that how you say it? Okay, I was always
building.
I'm building some things, so I'm excited about that. Very excited to share some new things with the community here when the time is right. I do want to share, and then you have something you want to share, and we'll close on a price analysis. So for anyone who's just tuning in, over the next 10 minutes, we're gonna blow your mind. I want to share Moonrect with you guys. So I want to take like a couple minutes and just let the people in on a little secret. So I'm going to share my screen, but for those who don't know, Moonrect is a game. It's in closed beta right now. It was developed by Hero Labs, a company that I advise. They're a crypto company. No white paper, no ICO, just building a cool product. And here it is. I'll kind of walk you through. Now, this is just one game. This is Moonrect. There's actually going to be many, many games. There's many different types of games, but we are in closed beta right now. Just a handful of us who are using it. But I'm really, really excited, and it's absolutely an addicting game to play. So what you're looking at here, I assume you can see my screen. What you're looking at here, this is a Bitcoin 5-minute game. So we have Bitcoin 5-minute games. There's 15-minute games, 30-minute games, etc. But every 5 minutes, a new game starts. So what we have highlighted here is the current game. There's 4 minutes and 25 seconds left. And before the game started, people made their predictions as to whether or not the last price would be higher or lower than the lock price, which is the price when the contest starts. So currently, if you voted Moon, you would win if it finishes Moon, and your payout would be 2.75x your bet. And that payout number comes from how many people bet on each side. So what you want is you want to be right, and you want everyone else to be wrong, because that's going to increase your leverage essentially. And so if we go back through some past games, there's been a couple of 5, 6x opportunities. This right here, if you voted Rect, had a 3.4x, and I'm doing 200, 300 hero at a time, which has a value of about an ether. So it gets addicting quite quickly, about a half ETH rather. This particular game, so we're going to go ahead and put in a bet, and we're going to see how it does. I shouldn't say bet, it's not a bet, we're just playing a game here. But currently, and 21 seconds for me to lock in my vote for that next 5-minute time frame. BTC Jack Sparrow, help me out, man. I don't have any of the tools pulled up, but are we going up and down in the next 2 minutes, in the next 2 candles here, my guy? What's your vote, Moon or Rect?
She's gonna Moon.
Okay. Now I think she's gonna Moon as well. However, I think most people are gonna think she's gonna Moon, and so that means our payout, even if we win, probably won't be that great. But we will see what it is. That game starts in 2 minutes. This game is still going here, and as you imagine, when you have all your bids locked in here, all you do is sit here and stare at this clock, and you just sweat it. and it's terrible. I didn't get any work done yesterday because I sat on this fucking website for 9 hours. But if you do want to sign up, check out hero.io, hxro.io, and you can sign up for to be notified when the open beta launches. This is, again, just the closed beta. But we'll check back in on this. We'll come back in 2 minutes and 20 seconds and see how we're doing on our little bet here. This is actually good. It's dumping right now on this 5 minute. Trading the 5 minute chart is great. It's dumping right now on the 5 minute chart. So being
it is resistance though. Like it is like going long at resistance. But fuck it.
Well, we're gonna go moon because hopefully the payout's a little bit better. So I will come back to that.
Everyone has been talking.
Is it a standalone app or is it web based?
Right now it's web based. All the bells and whistles. Again, this is just the closed beta. There's still some bugs and things like that, but really excited. I've been working with these guys since September to get to this point, so it's pretty fun. We'll just leave that on in the corner there and just bask in its glory, and hopefully we win some money while we move on and we talk about some other things. But yeah, Moon Wrecked is the game on the Hero platform.
Yeah, and this is something I'm excited to try this out. Everyone has been talking about Moonwrecked. It has been all over my feed for the last few days. Every DGen that I know cannot put it down. So you guys got to have something going on.
Ledger Status, Venture Coinist, Crypto Bully, Crypto Dale, all the guys that you know from Twitter, all of our friends there, they're all just absolutely addicted to it, not getting anything else done. It's exhilarating. So. What you been working on? What you been working on, broski?
2019 is going to be an exciting year for sure. For us here with Crypto Live, we have a lot of great content coming out. Those of you who are fans of the show and have been following us up to this point, thank you very much. We appreciate your continued support. And we are going to be rolling out some good content for you as the year progresses. Starting off next Friday, we have the one and only Danny Les joining us on the show. He's going to be jumping on with us. And those of you who don't know who Danny is, check him out on Twitter. Very successful in his own right before crypto was even a thing. And to have him on and the level of intelligence and the conversation that we're going to be able to have, we're really looking forward to it. So that's going to be a fun show next Friday. And for those of you who are subscribed to the channel and also tune in for Miners Oasis is going to be going live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about a lot of the spec plays that everyone is concerned with or focused on for January, namely Grin, Beam, and Veil. Veil and Beam are already mineable. Grin is not going to be launching. You're not going to be able to mine the Genesis block until the 15th of January. We're going to get you guys up to speed. So for those of you who are into mining, you want to tune into that. And also we've created another resource. The guys at Miners Oasis and I, Crypto Chris Walken and Whale Bearman, we have put together a collaborative effort to create a resource for miners. So if you are someone who wants to get into mining, maybe you are mining with one card on your gaming computer or something of that nature, we've opened a website up to where you can go and get some specific guidance. Yes, there are telegrams available to you. Yes, there are other resources that are out there, but this is going to be one comprehensive site that you can go for everything. And if you're unsure of what you're looking for, this is where you want to go. Because if you know you want to get involved with mining, but you're not sure how to start, we are going to paint the whole picture for you. We're going to walk you through what your goals are, how you can get there, build your equipment list out, help you build your rigs, help you hook them up to mine, and then troubleshoot with you all the way through to profitability. So the website is hashrate.com. That is H4SHR8.com. You can also get some merch on there. We're really just looking to provide a resource for as many people as possible. In 2013, I set a goal with my wife to help 20,000 people walk away from full-time employment before I die. That is my number one goal in this life. And I don't really care what industry it is. I think everyone should own their own time. I don't want to brag, but every morning I get to wake up and roll over and spend time with my wife as opposed to rolling out and going and kissing a boss's ass. And I think everyone should get to enjoy that. So if you don't have your freedom currently, spend this year figuring out how to get control of your own shit so you don't have to go and build someone else's dream. So that's just always been our push. So this is how we're going to try to help miners get there. And I know Bravado is doing a lot to help people move forward in the trading space. But yeah, just stay locked here. Make sure that you're tuning into all of our shows, whether it's Miners Oasis, especially Crypto Live. We are going to continue to put resources out there for you guys to help you move forward in whatever area of life you'd like to move forward in.
There's
the message for
Someone
sure. We all stand
chat
behind that.
asking what the website is again, but what website are you talking
What is
about,
the
Per?
website?
Yes, it is. I'll put it in the chat. It is hashrate.com. So H4SHR8.com. Did a little hacker play on Hashrate there, but you guys can go ahead and check that out. The site is live. Everything is there. We actually just launched it this morning. So you're the first to know. So if you're tuning into the show right now, this is the first time we've announced it. No tweets have been sent. Nobody else has been notified. We wanted to make sure that the Bravado fam knew first.
Oh yeah, looking forward to seeing more there. Good stuff on that, broski. Just sharing my screen. There's 2 minutes left in this riveting 5-minute contest of Moon Rect. We voted Moon, which has a 1.8x payout. If you voted Rect, you get a 2x payout, and Rect is winning by 50 cents right now. So looks like probably going to lose this one, and then I'll probably flip-flop over to Rect, and then I'll get chopped up and lose that one. And so that's how this goes. So you just continue to make your donations, take your adrenaline shot, and not get any work done. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be better. But we're winning now. We're up by 16 cents. So let's see. We will pay attention and follow that. Ronnie, BTC, Jack Sparrow. You want to pull up a chart? Let's take a look at Bitcoin. And let's see what's going to happen.
One thing I got to say, Rich, before we jump into this analysis. So
Yeah.
I've been talking with the guys at Wrecked Podcast, and we're thinking about doing a joint podcast and encompassing a little bit of a drinking game. And we talked about doing it with 1-minute candles on BitMEX, but I think we may need to get the beta up of Moon Wrecked and just play it with that right there live on the show.
Yeah, we got a couple of Wrecked Podcast fam in the beta already, so we will make sure to get a couple more of you guys in there. The full site will be live in the coming weeks, at least an open beta. So that's going to be really exciting. There's going to be other games too, not just Bitcoin pairs. There's going to be other pairs, other time frames, other types of games. It's going to be the DraftKings of crypto. These guys had no white paper. They had no ICO. They came to me and said, we're building a product. We need some help selling it here and there, but we want you to be involved. And here we are. So 27 seconds left. And we are losing badly by about $2. So I'm just going to flip to Rect and not buck the trend. The trend is your friend. I'm just going to stay on Rect, and hopefully that I can make some of this money back that I just lost. What do we got on the crypto side?
All righty. So, I want to start out with just looking at the volume. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago already to see whether we're seeing capitulation level volume. I think we all agreed that this could have been capitulation. The volume was really high, but since has dropped a fair bit. You're on the bottom for the people who are watching currently on the live stream. You have the volume that excludes BitMEX, but it includes most other big exchanges. I can show you. It includes Bitfinex, Coinbase, all the way to Mt. Gox back in the day. And the bottom one includes BitMEX, and you can see that clearly that BitMEX has gained a lot of volume in over the last year. So this is not a chart that I like looking at too much, but we've seen volume surpass previous highs around our all-time high incredibly well. Back in 2015, we had about double the volume from when we hit the all-time high. So there is a bit of a debate going on whether we've seen the bottom right now or that we will actually be going lower. If you exclude the BitMEX volume, you could argue that we need to see a bit more volume on the next dump to actually surpass the volume that we've seen around the all-time high of Bitcoin back in December 2017. So that is not really very conclusive on that side. What we do have, however, is we've been in a major consolidation ever since the end of November. And it's really tough to say what's going to happen here. A lot of people are speculating about the inverse head and shoulders. You may have seen on Twitter a lot. But you have to remember that for an inverse head and shoulders to actually be an inverse head and shoulders, we actually need to break out of the inverse head and shoulders, which means that we'll have to break back above at least $4,100 if the neckline is a bit diagonal, and preferably necklines are horizontal. So I'm not really too sure whether this inverse head and shoulders play is going to play out at this moment. If we zoom in on the lower time frames, we got rejected at like $4,200. So we had to move down, quite a big impulse move. And now we're building a triangle, symmetrical triangle. Usually those symmetrical triangles, they prefer to follow the trend. There's a high probability of them breaking in the direction of the trend. So that would mean that we actually we're going to see lower lows first. What is interesting though is that this blue box here, we had a falling wedge back in the end of November, start of December, and this was super important because usually they are bullish, and it broke down. So this was a supply.
Max, not to interrupt, for the people that are listening on the podcast, could you give the numbers there for the box?
Sure.
For the blue box you just referred to, for the people that are listening on the podcast.
By a whole different chart that just popped up on the screen. So we broke down like around $3,700. We broke down at this falling wedge, which when a falling wedge or a rising wedge breaks down the into the direction you don't expect it to break into, it is a very clear sign that in this case the bears were in control. So the moment we regained that level after falling all the way to $3,200, it was pretty obvious that we were likely to start ranging a very long time around between like $3,600 and $3,800, which is what we are doing now. So Bitcoin is super indecisive. I'm not going to play anything on Bitcoin right now personally. I'm either going to wait for confirmation of this inverse head and shoulders to actually play out. So that's a break above 4,100 at least, or I'm going to wait for Bitcoin to fall down to the 3,380 level. $3,380 is a level that has me very intrigued, because I can draw it for you guys, but you can see there was some kind of a triangle here in which price consolidated. So bulls and bears got very balanced around the level of 3,380, and then it broke down, but it was kind of a fake out, and we moved back up to 4,000 plus. So if price comes back to this 3,380 level, I do believe there's going to be a lot of demand. If it gets broken, I'm going to be very bearish, and I do think that we will see like 2,500 in the next months. If we break up out of this diagonal resistance at $4,100, I do think that we have very big odds that we actually see at least 5 to 5.5K. If you calculate the targets that you usually use to calculate the probable targets of an inverse and head and shoulders, you would end up somewhere exactly between $5,300 and $5,690. And that is exactly the consolidation we had when we broke down from 6K, below 6K, and we started to consolidate between 5.3 and 5.7 K dollars. So that's interesting. There's a bit of confluence on that one, and we're currently right in the middle of our entire consolidation. So there's for me personally, no trades to be made right now. It's a coin flip. If you like coin flips, go for it. But make sure you use your stop losses. I do think that using a stop loss right here and just entering is very risky, and I think the odds are super big that you're just going to get stopped out and then it's going to move the other direction without you. So personally, I'm just going to wait for a big move and then plan ahead.
And if we retest 3K, personally, I'm expecting that support level to break, even though it hasn't been tested yet. So do you think that a lot of the 3K support already got bought up when basically 3K got front run? The price started moving up
Yeah,
3,100.
I
What do you
think that
expect to
if we break that below like I said, the 3,380 level is very important for me. If we break below that, I do think we're not going to make a double bottom at $3,200. I do not think that we're going to bounce off $3,000. I do believe that $3,000 got front run, and now there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to buy at 3,000 if we get there, and they're going to get wrecked, and it's gonna fuel a liquidation / stop run that's gonna at least push us $100 to $200 below 3,000. And then the question is 3,000 going to be a resistance, or 3,200 going to be a resistance? Because then I do really believe that the 2,400 to 2,600 level is going to be within reach within the next couple of weeks to months, and potentially could be our bottom. But if we go down there and we don't see a massive move back up to 4,000 plus, I do think we're going to start ranging there, or at least go lower. So yeah, I mean, for Bitcoin, and people who have Bitcoin and don't have a lot of money left to buy any more Bitcoin, let's hope we go up. For the people who still have a lot of fiat on the sidelines, let's hope it's going to go down a little bit more so we can buy some more cheap Bitcoin.
And our dollar cost average strategy is linked below on YouTube. So make sure to grab that as well. It talks about exactly what our plan is and where we have bids for Bitcoin sub 3K. As we've also said, this will be switching to a cooking podcast and cooking live stream if we drop below sub 3K. Want to make sure that's known ahead of time. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, click that little bell thing. Not sure what that does, and smash the thumbs up. That'd be cool as well if you enjoy the DCA strategy. And if we can just wrap the show by doing a quick 60-second look at Ether on BitMEX. Let's just take a quick look at Ethereum, specifically for BitMEX, and see if we can pull a quick
ETHUSD on BitMEX
out of that. Yeah. BitMEX for all altcoins, including Ether, is extremely volatile, as you see by those wicks. A lot of those crazy wicks that you see on this chart right here, those don't exist on any other exchange. So trading alts on BitMEX is especially crazy, and that's why instead you should just play Moonrect on Hero's platform when the altcoin pairs launch. And that's my shill for them and for us.
ETHUSD is currently it has made us a beautiful V on that bottom. And it was a strong, quick reaction. We did a 2x in no time, and currently I do think that it's trying to break this resistance, which is, well, we got rejected at $160, so we actually never even got to the resistance, which I believe, which I would have thought it would have been around $163 to possibly $173. It got rejected quite early. Currently retested it for a second time, but we didn't even manage to go up any higher. So if there's no more volume coming into Ethereum, I do think that Ethereum is going to drop a little bit before it might actually continue. A logical place for it to drop back down to, or at least test liquidity, is probably below this daily candle here at around $114. There's probably going to be some stops, and the question to the left of that, there is this order block, continuation block, that's probably going to get tested. And it might actually drop all the way back to $100. But I don't think if Bitcoin can actually remain stable or even move up, I don't think it's going to go that far down. So for now, I would be shorting this resistance, and at around $160, maybe a bit lower. And I would cover for sure once the price gets to $115 and potentially open a long there. Just simple horizontals.
Yeah, I don't think that this is any sort of. There's a lot of people talking about the dead cat, and that this whole entire run up the last month could just be a giant kind of dead cat. That's not how dead cats work. For those out there who don't know, they're higher volume, way quicker. They don't take 8 weeks to play out, but that doesn't mean that this isn't just another bounce in a downtrend. So definitely be cautious of longing any type of resistance.
It's also important to remember we're coming up on Constantinople, which is faster block times. So There's
some good FA in play for Ether for sure, and it's popular when people log into Coinbase for the first time because they want to start this crypto shit. And there are people doing that every day. They are still getting new signups every single day. They are still a successful growing business. They're just not growing at the rate that they were. But they were also at one point the #1 app in the entire app store, which is complete tomfoolery. So of course they're not going to maintain that consistently. With that being said, I think Ether's attractive if I'm kind of a Coinbase investor, I guess, for lack of a better term. If I'm one of their demographic, Ether's probably attractive at $100.
Yeah, so let's jump into some FA, because FA wise, really short here. They're gonna be doing a soft fork, or it's gonna be a hard fork. I'm not really sure, but anyways, they're gonna fork.
It's a hard fork,
and difficulty is gonna increase for the proof of work. So basically, and the rewards are gonna get lower. I think they're, instead of 3, they're gonna reward 2. It's gonna decrease by like 30%. So there's gonna be less supply getting added to the circulating supply of Ethereum. So one could argue that this is gonna increase price eventually, unless miners haven't priced in this change yet, and they will have to start selling off more of their Ethereum they mine, because they will still have to use the same amount of electricity to actually mine these blocks. So I do think that that's also not really. It's a bit 50-50 right there for Ethereum. But end of year, Ethereum's gonna, they're probably gonna go into phase 1 of Serenity, which is Ethereum 2.0. It's like Casper plus sharding. I wouldn't. Sharding, I love it. I personally do believe there is a good chance for Ethereum to actually have a trend flip. It really depends. If we do break the $160 to $175 in the next couple of weeks, 2 months, I do think that Ethereum has a confirmed trend change, and that she's going to do pretty well over the next month.
Well, here's to a prosperous 2019. Hopefully we are bagging shit coins, long in Bitcoins, launching all the cool products that we're biddling, and hopefully we have another 100 episodes of the podcast and live stream, and hopefully we continue to see you guys here. Much appreciated to all the listeners. Broski, you want to give us an outro? You got the lawn.
I know, right?
Leaf blower outside your house.
That's how warm it is.
That's Florida. It's fucking January 4th. There's an old man outside his window, leaf blowing during the podcast. Like, the guy doesn't see the. Oh my God! I hate
everyone.
Florida.
Thank you.
Go eat lunch at Olive Garden.
Did you say? Anyways, I'll ignore the Olive Garden comment. Those glasses are nice.
Garden.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you joining us for Crypto Live's first episode of 2019. This year is going to be a banger. We're excited to be here with you all through all of the ups and the downs, the highs, the lows, and most importantly, the profitability. But until next Monday, guys, hope you all have a good weekend and you all stay warm. I'm going to go enjoy some sunshine.
F you. See you, boys.